Hey guys, how are we all doing? Back for another video. It's been a long time since I recorded for you, but obviously had a lot going on with FTX collapsing and everything like that, and just needed to take a bit of a mental break for myself. But back, going to start doing regular videos for everybody, hopefully weekly and sometimes bi-weekly. So stay tuned for that and make sure you like and subscribe the video if you get something out of today's content. So first off, just going to have a quick look at the stock market because obviously that is the overarching narrative at the moment in the markets. And we have this pretty much large downtrend from all-time highs that has had been touched multiple times, and we just had a breakout of that over the weekend. So this was basically consolidation that we had during the December and January period. And we can see here that there was a really strong shift in a break of market structure here. So basically what happened was we are going sideways, putting a big UTAD through here. And I was like, yeah, beautiful. That's distribution. We should be heading lower. But looks like the people who run the algorithms and the market makers decided they were going to put a new higher low in here. So that's probably the other thing that we need to really focus on as well, is that constantly throughout the entire year, we're making lower lows, right? And lower highs. And we haven't made a high yet, but we are sort of in the vicinity of a potential high time frame reversal. So if you look at this sort of pattern here that we have, it's pretty much, it's basically just a broadening descending wedge, right? And these play out all the time on lower time frames. We trade them all the time, but this is just a really high time frame broadening descending wedge. A lot of bear markets do look like this, and eventually they break out through here. But this is actually the perfect pattern with the 5 touches each side, and then we break out after putting in the higher low through here. If you go and look up the definition of a broadening descending wedge, it's going to look exactly the same as that, right? Typically how they go is they have the 5 touches inside the pattern and then they break out. Sometimes they have one more and you sort of get like a cup and handle type play through here. And obviously this is sort of a cup and handle play through there as well, right? So we have the higher low getting put in here. Now we need to see what happens is, do we make a higher high, right? I actually got caught offside a fair bit because I was expecting this to just be a bear flag and break to the downside. And, I think my bias was probably a little bit strong. Also because, psychologically impacted by losing 7 figures on FTX. But I was sort of in denial the whole way up through here. And obviously has ended up being a great learning lesson for me, and to watch for the break of market structure. And, the rejection of a bearish pattern, right, it means that it's bullish. And that was something that I missed. So learning lessons for you guys, if you, from me, if you didn't catch that one anyway. But that's something really to look for, especially when you're like moving into a larger time frame pattern, potential breakout through here as well. So the thing at the moment that we really need to watch, I think that is quite important now, is the unemployment rate, because that's going to really dictate, are we just going to go straight back into a bull market, for the next 5 to 10 years and then have another recession later down the track? While the Fed slowly lowers interest rates. So they've managed to get fairly high, up around 5% is decent, considering the last 14 years it's been sitting on pretty much zero, right? So interest rates have gone up a fair bit. I'm not sure 100% if we have seen the effects of that flow through the economy just yet. Now, the big message that the Fed keeps putting out, I'm sure we're going to rehash this over at the very important date, which is FOMC on February 1st. I'm sure Jerome Powell is going to rehash over that many times in his speech, which is the main thing we need to be watching out for, because that could change direction and send us back to the lows as well if he is too hawkish, is that they will be leaving rates high for the entirety of 2023. Now, that is going to put a long squeeze on the liquidity crunch and the market for a fair amount of time. But that doesn't mean that we can't have a fairly strong rally, in the SPX even push up to 4,300 or maybe even up to 4,600 if this gets a little bit out of control and too many shorts get squeezed. I'd be very surprised if we got up to 4,600, but I do think that 4,300 is definitely in the realm of possibility, and it all depends on what happens at FOMC. Does Jerome talk about, is he basically declaring a win over inflation, or is he like, okay, it started to come down a little bit, but there's still going to be a lot more pain. We're going to leave interest rates high for the rest of the year, et cetera, et cetera. That will have a really big impact on stock market, and that will shape, what happens in the crypto market and how long our accumulation phase, which I believe we're currently in, quite a large, year-long bottoming pattern at the moment. We'll look at that in a second, though. Just quickly on interest rates, I think this is unemployment rate. This is a really important one to look at. So in the blue, we have the yield curve, and when it's below zero, that means it's inverted. And every time we go below zero, pretty much in history, so this is the 10-year and the 2-year bond yields crossing over each other. And when they become inverted, pretty much in the next couple of years, we have a recession, right? And we haven't been down this low at minus 0.121 since the 80s, right? Which was a very, very rough time on the markets. But after that, we pretty much went on a 20-year bull run, right? There was a recession in 89, but it wasn't that bad. But basically, we can see here in the orange line is the unemployment rate. As you can see, I've put a marker down every time the yield curve inversion bottomed. So it hit its absolute lowest point in that cycle. And you can see every single time that has happened, unemployment rapidly increased after that, right? So at the moment, we're still going down with the yield curve, right? And a couple of videos actually talked about the CPI rate, and the CPI rate, how CPI usually tops and then unemployment takes off after that. So for me, the main thing to watch for here is unemployment starting to come off these low levels of 3.5%, which is pretty much close to an all-time low, or on this data anyway, which goes all the way back to the 60s. So anything, if this starts to trend up, that's when we could start to see all the corporations starting to pull back on things like share buybacks and stuff like that. So that's going to be the main tell for the market if we do roll over into a recession. But that doesn't mean that market might not get a really strong bear market rally for some time before we roll over for final capitulation. And then the Fed finally has to step in because everything does fall apart and start to pump the market again with stimulus packages, right? So yeah, basically that's what I've been looking at the moment, and those are my thoughts moving forward. But let's get into some of the juicy stuff, which is crypto and Bitcoin, right? Just looking at this range at the moment, I've got a little trend line through here, which price seems to be respecting a fair bit, and a bit of inverse head and shoulders, which is sort of testing out at the moment, but nothing too crazy. Did have a nice break and push higher with the stock market when that rallied quite hard overnight, but that rejected pretty aggressively towards the end of the session, and BTC pulled back, and we're just consolidating sideways at the moment. But that's giving altcoins a bit of a chance to run right now. The only thing I'm a bit concerned about is this does look a little bit like distribution. So we have our buying climax here, second test of the range high, setting the range low down through here, and then we had this breakout, a lot of trapped longers in here. And people who were short here and here obviously got stopped out through there, and yeah, so mass liquidations, and then quite a big pullback all the way to range lows, right? Another sort of attempt at breakout here and rejection. So what we need to watch for now is, does this go sideways and then break out? Because most likely then, that will prove that this is a reaccumulation phase. Usually you don't have big UTADs like this in reaccumulations, but you still do time to time. Reaccumulation, usually you have something like this and then a reclaim and then push. Especially in crypto, it's not always that simple. And sometimes you do get the UTAD and then it just rallies anywhere. And the UTAD was, the market was so bullish, it broke up to the outside and then pulled back a little bit because sellers were pushing it down, but then the buyers end up winning out in the end anyway, and it ends up going for a markup, right? when it's distribution and different sort of thing happens is they push the market up from here so they can sell heavily into this candle here, and then trap people above the range with a massive amount of volume. And then, we will see something like this, a roll back down to here, right? And then sometimes you get like a little bear flag here, and then that breaks down. And then what you'll get is the Wyckoff theory, we call this the breaking of the ice, right? Come up, retest this level, and then break down again from there. And basically that is into the markdown, right? And then if that does happen, I'm pretty sure we'll find support around this CME gap. So don't be surprised if we get some big scam wick like this. That has happened previously in the 2019 after it broke up out of the bottom. There's a really big CME gap left, and we had a huge 20% sell-off wick into that range, which, this is only a 14% dump down to there. It's not out of the question, but also can't be surprised if that doesn't happen. So, how do we play this? If it does come down with a really big wick, I'll be looking to buy once it reclaim. Well, if I see price nuking down here, I'll just be buying straight away because it will most likely bounce at least minimum before it rolls over. But, to be safe, buying back above this level through here, which is pretty much the range low, and the top of the CME gap, right? So if we did get some big nuke like that, be safe, in my opinion, to be getting in here with stop losses below that level there. So that'd be the sort of play I'd be looking for, something like that. Ended up playing out. Now on the low time frames, crypto, especially Bitcoin, has almost been impossible to trade. So try to stay off that and try to stick to the higher time frames, much easier at the moment. And then one simple trick, especially when the market is just ranging quite aggressively sideways like this, if I can find the tool, parallel channel, here it is. I always lose that tool, right? Is use the parallel channel and just put it from wick to wick, and then be trying to only look for buy entries when we're below this 50 level. And every time it's come back down below this 50 level, it doesn't spend long there. We're getting a lot of wicks down there. If you wanted to be a little bit tighter on yourself, you could do another parallel channel and then only look for buys in the bottom quarter of that. And as you can see, if you're doing that in this channel, just based on the range here from this push and then the pullback from the buying climax, the automatic retrace here, right? We would have nailed it pretty much every time price came down. You would have managed to get a buy here, a buy here, buy here, buy here, and buy there, which, pretty much the 4 best buys in this entire range. And then, it's very easy to move to move your stop loss to break even, or, at least you're in a pretty good position with your stops right near entry, right? Rather than catching the top of the range here, and then you have to put your stop loss down here, and then eventually it does roll over. You get taken out, and then it reclaims, and you've taken a huge loss, and so psychologically you're a bit down, and then you don't take the reclaim in this range, and then it runs off without you. And then what happens, a lot of people will do is they'll buy in after it breaks this level here, and then I'll have a big pullback and then rally, and they get stopped out here first, and it takes off without them again. So be careful trading like that, because it can do a lot of damage to your psychology as well as your account. So that's one little tip you can sort of use when you've got these big bull flags like this that are going flat sideways, is to use those parallel channels to get into the bottom half or the bottom quarter of the trading range. It can save your life a little bit sometimes. So I wouldn't be surprised though if Bitcoin just range sideways, and either we do get a sweep of the range lows and then push, or that just breaks out over the next couple of days. I do think the stock market is probably going to be bullish next week. I just don't see any reason why you'd have a big breakout like this. Like, look at the weekly here. Now, this is weekly confirmation that we've broken to the upside of this channel. So yeah, the next target for me, obviously, probably sweep of 41.43. There'll be a lot of buy side liquidity through there. And then, is these wicks and the level up here around 4,320 area, right? If that does happen, Bitcoin should definitely come up to take out this 25K area. And then that will be the big question. Do we come up here and sweep and reclaim, because that'll be a very good spot to hedge, in my opinion, for potential downside or pullback after that. So yeah, that's what I'm watching for at the moment. I think all the bears, that's the main trade that they're looking for. And then I think even would make the most sense to set them up so everybody's shorts, and then you'll liquidate those shorts when you push the market back up here. So we might get, this sort of action falling wedge type thing back into this monthly resistance, bullish retest, and then go again. Unless this is a longer range, which is, another potential as well. Just say something does bearishly happen. We push up early in the week, take out this level up here, and then, we get a bearish FOMC, right? And then, we end up doing something like this and we go into a longer reaccumulation range and take a little bit longer. There's the potential as well that, we end up getting this massive inverse head and shoulders pattern or something like that as well. But that's a fair way off. And we did get a huge falling wedge. So I don't know if we're going to end up getting a massive head and shoulders after that or not, but let's see what happens. But yeah, I think sort of bull market territory back on can be declared above this key level through here, pretty much above 28. But, we get above this bear flag through here, and so trading above there, that's pretty strong price action. And then the next key level where I think this rally, if it does go crazy on a really big rally like we had out of the accumulation bottom range back in 2019, we have this sort of a rally. I think most likely that will stop out either at 38K or 48K, but most likely 48K. If this does just go up sideways, sort of like the previous Bitcoin run out of the lows, come up to sort of hit this level, maybe even wick above that, and then, do this sort of stuff and chop around for, the rest of the year until we, finally get to the halving and then take off from the halving. Right. But we can't ignore the fact that, potentially we do get this big run, right? Let's just say that this does happen, right? And we get the huge run up to here over the next couple of months, sort of like exactly the same as what happened in 2019, right? End up rejecting from here, right? And we end up doing like this sort of stuff, chopping around for a while. We can't ignore the fact that the back end of this year potentially could be bearish if the follow-on effects from raising interest rates, everything like that, really start to seep into the economy, and we do start to see unemployment rise over the next few months. That could cause damaging effects to the economy all the way back into the back end of the year, which potentially could give us something like this, which would be similar to the price action that we ended up having back here for the COVID nuke, right? Maybe, I don't want to say, okay, we're not going to have another black swan like that, because something like that could happen, but also we could end up getting just a rollover like this at a much higher level, right? So we could end up getting a rollover to a much higher level. Maybe it comes back to 25 and then it takes off for the bull run post-halving, which I think is probably still planned in. Let's see if I can get up a chart for you guys. That's a pretty cool one. Nope. Sorry, wrong one. This is... Yeah, so this is one. So very interesting. The pullback here, the entire rally that we had. So it was 26 months to the top, and then 38 from bottom to bottom of the first cycle. Second cycle was exactly 35 months from the bottom to the top, the accumulation range all the way to the top. And then the pullback that we had was 47 months exactly. And then until we bottomed. And then the previous bull market that we just had, also from bottom to top, was 35 months exactly. And let's just see. So this is the bottom. Okay, so the bottom was, I don't know if the bottom was on this one. So that was actually at 47 bars as well to the current bottom if this ends up being the bottom in November from the FTX pump sell-off. So 47 exactly. So it ended up playing out 35 months up, 47 for the entire cycle, 35 months up, 47 for the entire cycle. Again, very, very interesting in there. And we also did have a monthly bull div, which is an interesting one through there. So maybe that ended up actually would have been the bottom if we didn't have Sam Bankman-Fried basically just try and destroy everybody's lives and the entire crypto industry. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool one to just let you guys know about. So yeah, this could continue to push the upside for the next few months, get back up to sort of the middle of this range, similar to what happened back here, right? Which would take us up to, you know, that 48K area potentially. And then we chop sideways again for the next year pretty much. And then we get to probably the middle of next year, 2024, and then take off for the next bull run. All right. So altcoins now is what I want to touch on. So altcoins I've been looking at. Illuvium looks really nice. Let's just go out, zoom out to the higher time frames. Yeah, this is a really nice chart in my opinion. Just looks like basic accumulation setting up at the moment. Probably chop sideways for a little bit longer. Then once we break this level at $74, could get pretty aggressive quite quickly. Key levels on the way up are going to be 146. But I don't really see any real resistance until we get up to 483 and then maybe even 906. But they're actually been doing a lot of work in the bear market on this game. It actually looks pretty cool. So sometimes I'm a bit of a computer nerd, like to play games a little bit. So I wouldn't mind checking this one out. Maybe reliving, maybe take me back to my childhood a little bit, because it's similar to like Pokemon. Basically, you run around in open world, collect little monsters, and then you battle each other to win Ethereum, right? I don't know. For me, that just screams like something that will take off and become a fad type game, sort of like Axie Infinity. And we all know what that did in the last market cycle. So yeah, I feel like it's just a more advanced version of Axie. And I don't see how it doesn't end up getting a cult following over the next cycle. So yeah, I'd be surprised if we didn't come back up to, you know, these levels around 500, and the move up there, you know, is about a 700% move, right? To, you know, the next key level above that is about 1,500. And then all the way to all-time highs is about 3,000. I don't know if it's going to get all the way to all-time highs. I could easily see it getting a strong rally up to here, and then it just puts in a sort of lower linked market cycle. A lot of the time, second cycle coins, you know, they do that. But let's see how it plays out. It all depends on the game, how many people are playing it, because it can be easier to get a really strong mega pump based around hype than it is around actually something is operating in reality. Litecoin is looking really interesting as well. This looks like a bit of a bull flag at the moment, getting ready to run with the rest of the market. Let's get rid of this. But yeah, it looks like it had this accumulation period back here already, and it was already broken out from that. So there's a really nice support resistance flip just here. So it broke out, came back, flipped that resistance, and just been pushing up. It's had a 37% move, but the halving is about 190 days away. And this was the rally into the previous Litecoin halving. And it was quite strong. So, I mean, let's just take it from a more realistic area where you get in from a flip, you know, 230% from the very bottom, right? I mean, but no one catches the very bottom. But just to measure it, you know, it was a 500% move. So I could see this coming up maybe to potentially 133, a little bit higher, depends on how much hype it gets around it at the time and, you know, which whales jump on it to push it. But it is one of the old school Bitcoin maxis and the old school Bitcoin crew from back in the day. I believe they like to pump Litecoin to increase their BTC holdings. So may as well ride the wave into the halving for that. Axie Infinity, I reckon, you know, really big falling wedge. I think it's going to push up to 19 soon and potentially up to 24. So yeah, this was the Axie Infinity pump, which was just massive. So I don't see why Illuvium can't have something like this happen. And maybe it does make it all the way back to all-time highs. There's a 4,000% pump, which is insane, but who knows? we'll have to wait and just see what the price action gets us. But yeah, for me, I don't know. This looks like almost free money through here. I don't want to say free money, so don't get your hopes up or anything like that. Not financial advice for sure. Always risk involved. But yeah, just looks like a bull flag through here, chopping sideways and push up to the next resistance soon. Mover is a dot coin in the ecosystem. Same sort of play, breakout from falling wedge. It's just sort of bleeding sideways, chopping up, and hasn't really made its big move just yet. I think this will go when dot finally goes, and it gives you a little bit more of a rally. DYDX is one that is sort of outperformed what I thought it would and just pushed all the way up to the top. This was one that Dario called really well. You know, if you've been in the Discord group, he was screaming at me down here, he was messaging me like every day. He's like, buy DYDX, buy DYDX. And I was just like, man, I'm on freaking holidays at the moment. I just got absolutely reamed by FTX. I don't want to think about crypto right now. And he absolutely nailed the bottom of this move for this range. And yeah, what a really nice move this was. Something I did want to point out on this chart though is the weekly close back here end up being a really nice bullish retest level for a rally up. So look at the weekly close. We had this big, nice Morningstar reversal here. We had the Morningstar and then pushed. And then 2 weeks later actually had a really nice throwback right to that level, bounced off it through here and then pushed to the upside. And now, we're back almost pinpoint perfect to the tick, right? Rejecting off level up here, right? Right, so that's perfectly the daily close level, right? So you need to be thinking about daily close levels, weekly levels, and then going down to the lower time frame charts and just seeing how price is sort of reacting to those levels for potential entries, because that was a beautiful entry and it's been pretty much just straight up ever since. So yeah, looking for this one. I don't know. You can't get into this now. Potentially if it does flag sideways or have a little bit of a pullback down here, might give another chance to enter. The next entry though is most likely a breakout of the range high here, and then you get some sort of flag pattern before the next part of the markup. That depends on how strong the rally is, but it also easily could just continue to go sideways. We haven't really seen any of these crypto coins actually get a breakout of its accumulation range just yet. So it's something to keep your eye on for sure. Right, ETC, another one of Dario's favorites at the moment, but I'm not the hugest fan of this. It sort of does look similar to a lot of the other coins at the moment. Had a couple of nice little pumps in here and just like sort of a choppy, messy bull flag, but looks like it wants to run resistance levels for targets, sort of 27 here, and maybe we get back up to 41. I don't know. Depends how hard it pumps. But this easily could just be beginning to an accumulation range. I'm not 100% sure on that one. LDO looking quite nice. I need to do a bit more research into this one, but maybe you guys can check it out as well. Let me know in the comments that it actually has one of the largest, if not the largest amount of lockups on it I don't know if lockups is the right word, but DeFi volume, I think it is the number one token, and a lot of big institutions are holding it at the moment from the data that I've seen. Not 100% sure if that is truthful information or doctored, but I'm pretty sure it's accurate from the sources that I got it from. So yeah, anyway, something to look at, LDO token, to have a look into it. Obviously, it's a newer one, only came out about a year ago and hasn't really had like a crazy bull market cycle, right? Like this was only 400% runs. It's not that bad, to be honest. And, we're 100% up from the low. So it potentially next cycle is going to have a big market cycle, where it goes at least like 1,000% pump, does like this sort of thing and then comes all the way back. So that's one to keep your eye on for sure, to see if that does start to kick off for its new cycle. Gala's going really nice at the moment. Absolutely beautiful ascending triangle through here. I did enter this one and call this one in the Discord. So let's go have a quick look through here. This was the call back here this morning. Gala, we sort of highlighted that one. Nice ascending triangle and said, it might run over the weekend. And then, went to the gym and came back and it had already broken out. So that was a really nice one. Traded this one on Bing X and also on Bybit as well on that one. But Bing X is a new exchange that we're a whole heap of us are looking at and checking out at the moment. They actually won TradingView. They actually won TradingView Exchange of the Year the last 2 years in a row. So have a check out of that one. I'll drop a ref link for you guys if you want to check it out and get discount on fees. MyLink does get a double discount on fees as well. So make sure you use that one if you are going to trade on there, because it'll save you heaps of money in the long run. Link is the other one that's looking really cool. Potential rally here and push to the highs and just basically follow DYDX. It looks almost exactly the same as DYDX chart. So yeah, unless something happens with Bitcoin, ends up rolling over and the stock market nukes, I'm sort of expecting Chainlink to follow. And Magic is the other one that's sort of hot at the moment. So keep your eyes on this one. It looks like it's starting its first market cycle. So a really big pump sideways here in a really nice 4-hour bull flag and then rallied out of that just before. So I'm keeping my eye on this one because a lot of the time when markets go into price discovery, they just pump like this, right? And then, they go into a bull flag and they pump again and go into a bull flag and they pump a few more times until they complete their parabolic move into the top of the market cycle. And then, the early stage investors start to dump on everyone and we get the big sell off. And then, it takes a couple of years to recover. So those are the sort of plays I'm looking at the moment. Hope that makes sense to you guys. One concern I do have in the market at the moment is Ethereum seems to be underperforming Bitcoin a fair bit lately on this last rally up, which typically is a good sign for the health of the market when Bitcoin does outperform Ethereum. All through here, right, over the last 6 to 8 months, Ethereum was massively outperforming Bitcoin on every move up. But now on this move, BTC has actually outperformed Ethereum and ETH has gone down about 10% versus BTC on it. So that's a very interesting thing. So if that continues to play out, Ethereum could come all the way back to maybe 0.05 or even lower for a little bit while Bitcoin goes on its big run and leaves ETH behind. And then, we'll be watching Ethereum to basically make its comeback, because this trade back here, when Ethereum finally broke out of its long-term accumulation pattern versus Bitcoin, this was one of the best trades of the last cycle. And when the market is pushing like this really aggressively and Ethereum is finally outperforming BTC again, I switched the holding of my portfolio from Bitcoin into Ethereum actually. And yeah, basically I made a ridiculous amount of BTC. I took one portfolio that I was just mucking around with, a side portfolio. It had like, I think 4.5 Bitcoin in it. And after this move and Ethereum had topped, I can't remember exactly how much it was, but yeah, I pretty much more than doubled the BTC that I was holding. And of course, Bitcoin also went up massively in value as well. So after it, I sort of felt like ETH had topped out. I think it was this run here, I got about a doubling, a little bit more of my BTC. So I took the account from like 4.5 to around 8 and a bit. And then this run here increased it massively again as well and got it up to around 10. So, I got about 6 extra Bitcoin just on 2 trades. And Bitcoin went from like 20K to like 60K as well. So, that's when you sort of have the compounding effect of, rotating through the altcoins at the right time in the bull market can make you absolutely ridiculous amount of money. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully helped you out a little bit. Please give us a like and subscribe. I really want to get this channel absolutely pumping this year. Obviously been very deflating for me, losing over 7 figures in FTX collapse. So yeah, hopefully we can get the YouTube a little bit of growth. So help me out, guys. Share the video around to your crypto friends. It might help them out. If you liked it, share it around and give us a like and subscribe. Because yeah, it does give me a lot of confidence to see the views and the channel growing and that inspires me to make more videos for you guys. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. We'll chat to you all next time.